here's the deal. Last week, the Cavaliers rejected a trade that would send Kevin Love to the Knicks and Carmelo Anthony to the land. Last night, that decision became a little more interesting as Love missed the second half of the Cavaliers' win over the Thunder with back spasms. Meanwhile, Melo had an impressive game last night, scoring 45 points in a 4-overtime loss to the Hawks. He also fouled out and did not play in the final overtime. Stephen A., point blank, did the Cavs make a mistake not trading for him?
I believe they did, and I said that the other day because I think that Melo is better than Kevin Love with LeBron James. I mean, obviously, you have a situation where Kevin Love is 20 and 10, and there's no reason to sniff on him. He can play, and I like him a lot. But when I think about Melo being a prolific scorer that he is, being an individual capable of creating his own shot and scoring under duress as well, mid-range, three-point, free throw line, et cetera, I think about when things potentially could break down for Cleveland, who can ultimately get a shot for you and make a shot under such duress. I think he's better equipped than Kevin Love to do so. But also, more importantly, Max, if you remember, last week, one of the things I pointed to, and I said this because I had been hearing this, is that Kevin Love, I brought up his health. Everybody looked at his numbers. And what did I say last week? I said, look, guys are saying he's breaking down. He looks a bit iffy out there.
Mentioned his back, I believe.
I mentioned his back. I mentioned his back. I mentioned his knees. I mentioned his hips. What happens yesterday? Back spasms. And so these are the kind of things, even though he's 5 years younger than Melo, he's breaking down in a more conspicuous fashion in some people's eyes than Melo. And his game is more predicated on either, if it's not the spot-up shot, he has to bang and get physical. Melo doesn't have to do that because of the offensive arsenal that he has. I think Cleveland should have seen that since they have him every day and should have pounced on the opportunity to get Melo, especially since the Knicks were more than willing to take Love. I think it will prove to be a mistake.
Ready for this? I disagree. I say you're wrong, even if Kevin Love's back means he doesn't play another game this season. I still think you're wrong, and this is why.
Okay.
One, with the playoffs approaching in the not-too-distant future, you don't trade a piece of your championship nucleus to integrate a high-usage player who's an ISO scorer when really your offense is predicated on penetration and three-point shooting. So that would be a mistake in the first place. But in the second place, even if Kevin Love got hurt, and he's good to know him, well, see, you could have had Carmelo Anthony. Here's the kicker, Stephen A. Phil Jackson is doing such a bad job as the president of basketball operations for the Knicks. He is so intent on undermining Carmelo and humiliating him on the way out of town that it seems to me that Phil doesn't care if the Knicks even get worse because they get less back in a trade for Carmelo. His primary concern seems to be his ego and embarrassing Carmelo even as it depresses Carmelo's trade value. Therefore, you don't need to give up Kevin Love to get back Carmelo Anthony. The Cavs were right not to trade him because, as you can see from the Clippers' proposed deal, Phil Jackson isn't even requiring a star back. They're looking for a third team to get into that trade, a partner, so we can just get pieces. Why give up Kevin Love?
Here's why you're wrong. Kyrie, LeBron, Kevin Love, JR, Tristan Thompson. Those are the guys making money for you on the Cavaliers. Because of the $22 million Melo's making, you're going to have to give up those dudes along with Iman Shumpert. Phil Jackson would never take back JR. He would never take back Iman Shumpert, those two. So as a result, that strips you of four. You got Tristan Thompson. You don't need him. You might could use him along with Kristaps.
He's a good player.
Yep. But he's a damn good player, what have you. But at the same time, that's a guy that's represented by the same dude that represents LeBron James or what have you. That's not going to happen. So Love is literally the only tradable commodity that you have because nobody else would entertain it. So when you look at it from that perspective, that's that point. Then it's the basketball point. I think you look at Cleveland as a finished product. This is who they are. I'm saying to you, that's who they have to be at their best because of the personnel that they have. If they were to acquire Carmelo Anthony, don't you tell me that LeBron James can't make that adjustment. In other words, instead of just being somebody and you kicking it out to a spot up three where you get 55% of your assists, oh no, you can make the necessary adjustments if you've got Kyrie on one side, Melo on the other, and you're LeBron James. And that's the key I think you got to remember.
Look, Carmelo is an offensive weapon, particularly, the thing about LeBron, and the reason he is so much better than everyone else, I don't think Kevin Durant is close to him. I made the mistake of thinking maybe Steph had surpassed him, not because he was actually better, but because the way the game is played today, you know, the last couple of years, Steph, especially last year, I don't think he's close, and I'll tell you why. LeBron James makes any unit function at optimal efficiency. You know, so even if it means he's playing on the ball and Kyrie's playing off ball, and both of their stats are depressed, he's making any team he's on function as well as it possibly can. He would do that for Carmelo Anthony too, but is it enough time in a matter of half a season to get them ready to win a chip?
My last retort to what you're saying is that you're right about LeBron in terms of what he would bring out of everybody else, but you're ignoring the fact that Kevin Durant, what everyone else does, he could do himself. You know, so it's one of those situations where, yeah, LeBron might make those other people more efficient, but Kevin Durant is that efficient by himself. That's what makes
Take Durant. I got LeBron.
All right.
More talk about a possible marriage between Tony Romo and the Broncos, but who should have more urgency, Romo or Denver? We discuss, and Carmelo goes off for 45 and a loss to the Hawks. But what does the future hold? Stephen A. is going to give you that real talk of what is going on.